Greetings, beautiful beings. Welcome back to Shelter in the Storm with A Course in Miracles, lesson number 33. Alright, we're up to part 8 of chapter 2. It's the last section and then we're on to chapter 3. It's only a page and a half, so we might just read that today, and then we'll move on to the lesson and Jesus' commentary of the lesson. This one is called, part 8 is the meaning of the last judgment. One of the ways in which you can correct the magic miracle confusion is to remember that you did not create yourself. You are apt to forget this when you become egocentric, and this puts you in a position where a belief in magic is virtually inevitable. Your will to create was given you by your Creator, who was expressing the same will in his creation. Since creative ability rests in the mind, everything you create is necessarily a matter of will. It also follows that whatever you alone make is real in your own sight, though not in the mind of God. This basic distinction leads directly into the real meaning of the last judgment. The last judgment is one of the most threatening ideas in your thinking. This is because you do not understand it. Judgment is not an attribute of God. It was brought into being only after the separation, when it became one of the many learning devices to be built into the overall plan. Just as the separation occurred over millions of years, the last judgment will extend over a similarly long period, and perhaps an even longer one. Its length can, however, be greatly shortened by miracles, the device for shortening but not abolishing time. If a sufficient number become truly miracle-minded, this shortening process can be virtually immeasurable. It is essential, however, that you free yourself from fear quickly, because you must emerge from the conflict if you are to bring peace to other minds. The last judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. Actually, it will be undertaken by my brothers with my help. It is a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment, however much you may think that punishment is deserved. Punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness, and the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. The last judgment must be called a process of right evaluation. It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not. After this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Until this distinction is made, however, the vacillations between free and imprisoned will cannot but continue. The first step toward freedom involves a sorting out of the false from the true. This is a process of separation in the constructive sense and reflects the true meaning of the apocalypse. Everyone will ultimately look upon his own creations and choose to preserve only what is good, just as God himself looked upon what he had created and knew that it was good. At this point, the mind can begin to look with love on its own creations because of their worthiness. At the same time, the mind will inevitably disown its miscreations, which, without belief, will no longer exist. The term last judgment is frightening not only because it can be projected onto God, but also because of the association of last with death. This is an outstanding example of upside-down perception. If the meaning of the last judgment is objectively examined, it is quite apparent that it is really the doorway to life. No one who lives in fear is really alive. Your own last judgment cannot be directed toward yourself because you are not your own creation. You can, however, apply it meaningfully and at any time to everything you have made, and retain in your memory only what is creative and good. This is what your right-mindedness cannot but dictate. The purpose of time is solely to give you time to achieve this judgment. It is your own perfect judgment of your own perfect creations. When everything you retain is lovable, there is no reason for fear to remain with you. This is your part in the atonement. Wow. Okay, let's move to our lesson number 33. Lesson 33. There is another way of looking at the world. Today's idea is an attempt to recognize that you can shift your perception of the world in both its outer and inner aspects. A full 5 minutes should be devoted to the morning and evening applications. In these practice periods, the ideas should be repeated as often as you find comfortable, though unhurried applications are essential. Alternate between surveying your outer and inner perceptions, but without an abrupt sense of shifting. Merely glance casually around the world you perceive as outside yourself. Then close your eyes and survey your inner thoughts with equal casualness. Try to remain equally uninvolved in both, and to maintain this detachment as you repeat the idea throughout the day. The shorter exercise periods should be as frequent as possible. Specific applications of today's idea should also be made immediately when any situation arises which tempts you to become disturbed. For these applications say, there is another way of looking at this. Remember to apply today's idea the instant you are aware of distress. It may be necessary to take a minute or so to sit quietly and repeat the idea to yourself several times. Closing your eyes will probably help in this form of application. All right. So, what is Jesus' comment for us today about lesson 33? There is another way of looking at the world. You are blessed beings, indeed. I am that one you know as Jesus. What a great gift you give yourself when you assess the world in this way. There is another way of looking at the world. This is something many of you never question. This person is that, he is this, and she is that. Questioning yourself opens your narrow, boxed-in, programmed mind to a different future. After all, is that not why you are here? You have come to these lessons because there is a little niggling of dissatisfaction in the way your body, life, world, and relationships work. You know there can be more, but you don't know how to get it. This lesson, taken to heart, provides a powerful transformative device. Because when your ego rises up in judgment or attack, you immediately use your powerful free will to say, hang on a second, maybe there's another way of looking at this. That opens the door for communication, connection, and love, as well as a potentially new creation to come forth into your experience. That is what these lessons are for. They give you a new experience. You begin to see that as you change your mind, you get new experiences. What new experiences might you expect? Some of you will have more vivid dreams with messages contained within them. Some of you will have overwhelming urges to connect with people that you have not talked to for a long time, or that you feel a slight resentment toward. Some of you will have more compassion and offer help to somebody that you would not have helped before. Perhaps you will offer somebody a ride to work when before you would have watched him or her get on the bus. Perhaps you will pay back a long overdue debt. These examples show some of the healing experiences you might expect. You might have physical experiences. Our dear channel had some, what she calls amazing out-of-body experiences, in which she, let me just quickly do that part again. You might have physical experiences. Our dear channel had some, what she calls amazing out-of-body experiences, in which she had direct conscious contact with guides and teachers in higher realms in the early days of her core studies. This got her attention. She knew the strange blue book caused these unusual feelings and experiences. So if you start to feel different, you start to have new ideas or inspirations, know you have done that yourself by changing the way you look at the world through this training program. If you have an unusual idea, contemplate it and say, this may be a consequence of the A Course in Miracles studies. I should not dismiss it because it's something I have never thought of or done before. It is, perhaps, guidance. Let me give it a try. We are happy you have the braveness to transform into the most powerful creative device in the universe, the human mind aligned with love. You are heading toward that, dear ones. So hang in there and keep coming back to see us every day. We are with you all the time, but we enjoy these group gatherings. I am that one you know as Jesus, and we will see you again tomorrow. Namaste, blessed ones. Until then.